Extruded polystyrene is probably a material that you're all familiar with from packaging, right? All sorts of things come in that white foam bubble material. So extruded polystyrene is one of the oldest foam, plastic foams out there. And here we've got this very soft one that's actually probably did come from packaging material. That's almost never used in construction. Here's a much denser EPS, so extruded, expanded, EPS. Did I say extruded? EPS, expanded polystyrene. I'm going to start this all over. Expanded polystyrene is one of the oldest plastic foams and is something you're probably familiar with from packaging materials. And this soft version is probably not what you would use as building. If you want expanded polystyrene, this is more typical. This is where it's part of actually a freezer panel, and that builds those kind of walk-in freezers. The nice thing about it is it can be formulated for a bunch of different densities. So here we have an expanded polystyrene with a PSI of about 25 pounds per square inch, so it can support a certain amount of structural load. Here's one, the same one, so it's got an R value of somewhere between 3.5 and 4.5 per inch, and that's going to depend on formulations. But so it's an old one, and unlike extruded polystyrene, it does not require a global warming, potent global warming blowing agent. And so you can see it's often used in structural insulated panels. So here's a cut through of a structural insulated panel that has an exterior sheathing. The EPS is then glued to the inside of that sheathing, and it becomes the web of a truss, right? So now this whole thing with another interior board, in this case you've actually got the drywall also pre-attached, becomes a pre-assembled wall that can be shipped to a build site and assembled on site, connected on site. Here's a slightly larger example of that. Unlike expanded polystyrene, which you're familiar with, the white thing. So the nice thing about expanded polystyrene, besides a lower global warming factor, is that it is resilient to moisture. So it's not going to wick any moisture, and it won't be a growth medium for mold and so forth. It's also nice because it can be molded. So, typically that's why it's used as a packaging material, right? Is it's going to be molded around whatever a piece of electronics or whatever was shipped to you. Here, it's been molded into this form. So this is Creatherm, which is a brand name of a particular installation aid that we talked about with Carl Feucci's house, where you could take PEX tubing for for radiant heating, and you could run it inside this installation aid. That didn't work out well. You could run it through these knobs and get it to install.